Ki Jai. Here we are back in the temple, and we'll be doing some chanting on this beautiful 6th day of Navratri. Bole Baba Ki Jai. I can find my place. We'll begin. Well, this is a lovely story we'll do. So, for those of you who've been following along, of course, we're reading the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam, and Vedavyasa is the author. He's also a Muni on his own, and he wanted to have a son. And he was blessed with a beautiful son named Deva. And Sukadeva grew up and was shining he was actually born from fire. And so he was shining like fire and had so much intelligence. However, as he grew up, it was time for him to marry. And Sukadeva decided that I don't want to marry because marriage is so much bondage and all I want is mukti. So he went on and on with his father. And finally his father said, if you insist, please first go meet a great king, King Janaka, who lives in Mithila, many, many, many days of travel away, who was my disciple and now leads his kingdom. He has family and children and a kingdom, and still he lives in moksha, in freedom. So Sukadeva could hardly believe this, but he said, okay, father, I will do it. So the father took the dust from his hair and kissed him and said, but please remember to come back. So this is the story of Sukadeva set out from his father's ashram in Mithila, where King Janaka ruled. Wandering and wondering at all the marvelous world that unfolded before him as he went along, Sukadeva made for Mithila, which was a long way from his father's ashram. It was another practical education for the brilliant Sukadeva. He passed over white mountains and came down into the jade plains. He forded great blue rivers and crossed many climes and kingdoms. He encountered all kinds of men and women on his way, from every occupation and every walk of life. He passed through deep jungles where he saw only rishis who lived in the tapasya. Among these, he saw men that worshiped Shiva and Shakti, Ganapati and Surya, Indra and Vishnu, and many other gods as well. After a full year of travel, Sukadeva arrived at the gates of King Janaka's city, Mithila. He saw how magnificent was that city before him and how contented its people seemed. But a huge guard stopped him at the gates and asked rudely, who are you, stranger? What brings you to Mithila? Suka was astonished and made no reply, but he smiled to himself. The guard said sternly, by King Janaka's command, no one enters a city without declaring himself properly. You may not pass. Now Sukadeva began to laugh softly. He said, I have crossed Meru and the Himalayas, countless jungles, rivers, and kingdoms to come here. Now I see how deluded I was, and it was my own father who deceived me. The karma of other births made me walk all this long way here, and now I cannot even see King Janaka. Mithila is no sacred space, nor does any Vedas personified live here to warrant me having taken so many pains to come to the city. As Suka spoke, the traveler's dust seemed to fall away from his body, and the guard saw that his skin shone like a god's. The man relented. He said, Brahmana, forgive me, I have offended you. You may enter, for I see you are a blessed soul. There is nothing to forgive. You merely were doing your duty. And how could you tell that I was not a thief or an enemy? Suka went into Matila and saw a bustling city full of people, all vigorously playing their various trades. He wandered the streets a while in mild amusement at the frantic activity around him, all born of attachment. After a time, Suka came to Janaka's palace. Here also a guard barred his way. Suka shut his eyes and stood still as stone before the swarthy fellow. The guard saw in alarm that the stranger's body began to shine with uncanny light as Vyasa's son, Sukadeva, was plunged in meditation. Bright as a sliver of the sun shone Sukadeva, and in a moment a minister came running out of Janaka's palace and ushered that Muni past the awe-struck guard and into the king's harem. The king's women received him, and when they saw how illustrious he was and how young and handsome, their hearts were all aflutter. But Sukadeva was beyond the temptations of the women. They fed him with rare delicacies on which he nibbled politely, then showed him into an elegant apartment where a bed of swan dawn was made up for him. They flapped his pillows but lingered on in that chamber, for they were aroused and could serve him more intimately. Smiling, the serene Sukadeva washed his feet carefully. He slipped the ascetic's ring of kusa grass on his finger, then sat on the floor at the foot of the bed in Padasana and shut his eyes and was lost in meditation again. The woman saw how candescently his body began to blaze, and growing afraid, they left him alone. Sukadeva meditated on the Supreme Brahman for 3 hours, then rose and slept for 6 more. He awoke in the last part of the night and sat in Dhyan for another 3 hours. Came the Brahma Murati the hour before sunrise, and Sukadeva bathed in cold water, while the rest of Matila slept, and yet again he sat in meditation. Later that morning, King Janaka came to meet him. When they had greeted each other formally, Janaka asked, "Holy One, I see you are free of desire. Why has a rishi like you sought me out?" Sukadeva replied, "My father, Vyasa, said to me, 'Child, take a wife, because the ashram of married life is the best stage of life. But I believe that marriage is bondage and want no part of it.' Vyasa said that being married, one could still be detached. He sent me to you, saying that you rule a kingdom and are married, and were yet a jiva mukta. My lord, I want moksha, and nothing but moksha will satisfy me." King Janaka said, "Moksha is hard to attain. A man must first experience the 4 stages of life of a student, a householder, a renunciate, and finally an ascetic, before he comes to freedom. No man who has not experienced the family life and vanaprastha can become a sannyas." Suka said, "But if a man has Vyagra or detachment and is totally detached even before he lives through these other ashrams, can't he become a sannyasin straight away?" Janaka said gravely, "You are my guru's son, and I tell you the truth. If a man enters sannyas with his desires unfulfilled, they are liable to waylay him along the way without warning. He who makes his bed on a cliff can fall to his death, but the man who sleeps on the flat ground is in no such danger. Desire is powerful. A man never relinquishes his cravings. The only way to free oneself of desire is the slow and gradual path prescribed in the Vedas. The king smiled, and Sukadeva saw how full of grace he was. Janaka said softly, "Sinless one, look at me. I live in the world in the thick of every activity, yet nothing binds my spirit, and I'm a free man. Bright youth, this world of illusion cannot deceive the soul. When the heart is pure and calm, then all the world is untainted and tranquil. The enemy is not outside. Every demon lives in one's own heart. The mind binds a man, not his circumstances. The Atman is beyond everything. The mind perceives. The Atman can never be bound. When the mind sees the Atman everywhere, then the mind becomes free. The wise man experiences the 4 stages of life so that he can cleanse his mind until it grows still and he sees the truth that is imminent. But how will the mind recognize the truth when it is found, unless it has first known the world of illusion and despair? Once the mind discovers the soul, it comes to enlightenment, from which there is no return. An illumined man is free forever. But Sukha argued, "But my lord, the Dharma of the Vedas is at times the way of himsa or violence. The Vedas also extol wine and gambling. How can a man become attached to the pleasures ever hope to be free?" Sukha said doubtfully, "My lord, the mere mention of a lamp in a dark room does not dispel its darkness. A householder lives in the thick of the deluded and violent night of samsara. How can he be free? When you are a king, O Janaka, and enjoy the wealth and power of a kingdom, how can you be a jivamukta? Don't you think that this great Matila has been your own? Don't you make a difference between pleasure and pain, the garland of flowers and a serpent? But the true mukta is beyond every attachment. I fear it is your royal vanity that makes you think of yourself as being a mukta. Why, even ascetic munis who subsist on roots and fruits of the earth fall prey to this world's maya." Janaka smiled tolerantly at the young man. He said, "You speak cleverly, Sukadeva, but the truth is that you are full of doubt and anxiety, while I am not. I have no doubt that I am free, and not your cleverest arguments can change that. Remember that it is you who have journeyed all this way to seek the peace of your heart. I, Sukadeva, am already at peace, and I stay here in my kingdom with no desire. Do you think that if you live in the heart of a forest, you will be free of the doubts that torment you? Why, the jungle is as full of bondage as even my Matila. The vana is made of the 5 elements as much as the city. How will you be any freer in the vana than anywhere else? Freedom is of the spirit, and the spirit can be free anywhere or bound anywhere. Moksha is within you. Indeed, what you imagine to be a less conducive circumstance to attain moksha may very well be the very way that sets you free. Perhaps because the time had come, Sukadeva suddenly felt his doubts melt away. Janaka had said nothing to him that his guru Brihaspati and his father Vedavyasa had not. Yet the manner in which the Lord of Matila argued, and most of all, his cheerful detachment, struck a deep chord of Sukadeva. Vyasa's son fell like a man who had set down a great burden that he was hardly aware he was carrying. He smiled radiantly at King Janaka and said with feeling, "Sadhu, sadhu." Sukadeva prostrated himself before the king, took the dust from his feet, and walked out of Matila feeling happier than he had for a very long time. Vedavyasa ran out of his ashram in delight when he saw his son had returned. He clasped Sukadeva in his arms and covered his face with kisses. Sukadeva stayed with his father, and Vedavyasa saw that a profound transformation had come over his child. The youth was at peace now and quickly pursued his study of the Dharma Shastras. He did not argue with his father anymore, but seemed content to learn from him with a tranquil spirit. And when Sukadeva sat in dhyan, he saw King Janaka's serene, smiling face before him, and this filled him with untold peace. After some weeks, Vedavyasa cautiously broached the subject of marriage again with his son. Sukadeva smiled and said, "As you wish, father. If it will make you happy, I am ready to enter the marriage stage of life." Vyasa was overwhelmed. Sukadeva was married to a chaste girl named Purvari, who was also a rishi's daughter. She was a devoted wife, and they had 4 sons: Krishna, Gaurapati, Buri, and Devasruta, and a daughter called Kirti. Vyasa watched his son's family in quiet delight, and Sukadeva was so happy that if he ever looked back at the time when he had stubbornly refused to marry, he would laugh to himself that he had been so afraid. Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Vishveshwari Mata ki jai. So any questions about Sukadeva and King Janaka and the nature of moksha or enlightenment? Great. And we all have it clear that it's important that life goes on everywhere and we can have moksha even in the middle of a kingdom or in the middle of our Mahamaya world. So we'll reconvene tomorrow at 8:30 for the Devi Puja, the 7th day of Navratri. And we'll go and have darshan of beautiful mother. So Bole Baba Ki Jai.